Hey guys, it's Lady Ambrosia. Today I'm going to be doing the YouTube Pagan Challenge week 14 and 15. And I finally have a little bit of time to myself. I'm off today from work, so I've just been hanging out at home, just kind of taking it easy. I'm feeling a little bit under the weather. I'm a little bit congested. And this always happens to me every time the seasons change. I get sinus issues because of my allergies. So I'm sorry about that. Sorry about this, okay? We're just gonna hang out in our pajamas. I have my mom's like comfy woven robe on, and I'm just hanging out. So week 14 of the YouTube Pagan Challenge is What Does Magic Mean to You? And I'm gonna combine week 14 and 15 because I feel like I agree with a couple of the other vloggers who are doing the YouTube Pagan Challenge, who they combine their videos because they do kind of link up and go together. So for week 14 of What Does Magic Mean to You, I kind of want to just like define some vocabulary. So there's magic with the C, which in my opinion, magic with the C is more like stage magic and more like illusions. And then there's magic with a K that you'll see spelt a lot. And magic with a K, for me, I see that as more spellcraft type magic. And magic really is just setting up a space, creating an intention, and releasing that intention and watching that intention manifest. I really feel like it could just be as simplified as that. And, your mileage on that specific thing may vary, but, from one practitioner to another, how they, clear the space and set the intention and release that intention and watch that intention manifest, your mileage may vary. Someone who has Norse roots or Egyptian roots, or if they're traditional or if they're eclectic, what that might look different. So just to kind of keep it simple and short, that is my perspective on what does magic mean to you. Now, week 15 of the YouTube Pagan Challenge is, how often do you perform spells and spellcraft, basically. So for me, in my perspective of doing spells and doing ritual, I talked about this actually in my last video I uploaded, which was money and sex appeal. But in that video, I talk about kind of some differences between ceremonial magic and folk magic, and kind of my take on that. That light was way too bright in my eyes. And so I turned it off. So just to kind of redefine some vocabulary again, from my own perspective, ceremonial magic is very much like what I consider to be like high magic. I consider them to be kind of synonymous in the sense that high magic, to my understanding, is working with spirits and working with the gods and working more on an astral plane, on an astral level. That's what I would define as high magic. And low magic is doing more earthly workings, like mundanely, making tinctures and potions and incense blends and creating crystal grids, that's what I consider to be more low magic. So not that like high magic is better and low magic is lesser, or that they're on different levels. Think of it as just like different planes. So like high magic up here in the cosmos and low magic down here on Earth, and that these two planes, one is not necessarily higher, or not higher, but one is not necessarily greater or more powerful than the other. It's just kind of, what your working calls for. If you're working with meditation, you're working with connecting to deity, you might find that high magic you're able to plug in easier, utilizing some more of those practices. Sorry, guys. Now, okay, so for ceremonial magic, how I define ceremonial magic is that it's incredibly ritualistic. So, depending on the practitioner, your mileage may vary. But ceremonial magic, you might be invoking the quarters, you might be invoking a deity. It's ritualistic, and there's steps to the process. You know, you're cleansing the space, you're consecrating the space, you're setting your intention, you're blessing the space, you're performing your spellcraft. It's a whole ritual, is what ceremonial magic really calls for. And typically ceremonial magic is used in unison with high magic. I have done ceremonial magic on what might be considered lower magic, like maybe creating a crystal grid and bringing that into the ritual to consecrate it and charge it within the ritual, to then take that crystal grid out of ritual and place it with that intention from the ritual and that energy that it was charged with from the ritual. But for the most part, yeah. And then folk magic is kind of more, like I said, kind of more synonymous with earth, you know, low magic, and it's very earthly and earthbound. And to me, folk magic could just be maybe you're wearing some hematite bracelets or jewelry to, you know, try to keep off negativity, or maybe you're wearing some amethyst to help soothe you and relax you, or maybe you're wearing some tiger's eye to help with public speaking, or maybe you're wearing a certain oil to, you know, heighten your own vibration, or to attract love, or to bring in wealth and prosperity. That's more what I consider to be like folk magic, just kind of the day-to-day. You know, you don't have to set up this big grandiose ritual. It's just a small little clip of magic that you just take with you throughout your day. So how often do I perform spells and do rituals? This is my answer to this question. I know I kind of went on a rant here. Well, I do ritual every Sabbat. So every time the wheel turns, I end up doing some form of ritual, and I really keep myself on that regimen just because it's a, you know, it's a sacred day and it's a sacred holiday, and I want to take the time out of my life to notice that and to appreciate that, even if it just means I light a candle. Typically, like, I have my working altar, which is like right here. I'm not going to turn my camera right now, but I have my working altar right here, and this is my witchy room. But downstairs in our living room, I have a Sabbat altar, which changes seasonally when the wheel turns. I know a lot of witches have their, you know, have both all in one. Their working altar, you know, turns with the wheel. But for me, I kind of like my working altar to be mostly the same. You know, have the same kind of energy at my working altar space. And I like plenty of room to actually do a working at. You know, if that's making an incense, if that's scrying, I like to have space, open space on my working altar for that. Whereas my Sabbat altar is really a representation of the seasons and where we're at seasonally on the wheel of the year in the northern hemisphere. And then I might do a spell or a working in unison with that specific season. So I showed on my channel, if you look, there's a couple videos about my Samhain altar, and you know, I talked about the symbology within the altar, and I talked about the Samhain incense that I made. So yeah, that's kind of more lower or folk magic that I incorporated into that. And then, you know, I had ritual at my Sabbat altar. So I do that every time the wheel turns. As far as full moons go, I typically, even though the lunar energies in the moon, I do feel influenced by, and it does have more of a sway to me personally. As far as my practice goes, I don't really do a whole lot with the moons. I take note as to what phase of the moon we're in, and I will set my intentions with the lunar cycle, and I might work my spell into the lunar cycle, but the moon does not necessarily dictate exactly what I'm doing in my practice at any given time. Whereas the sun, you know, I recognize and take part in some form of ritual for all the cross-quarter holidays, the solstices, and the equinox. So every time it turns. And like I said, you know, one Sabbat, that might just be lighting a candle. For me, it doesn't have to be a huge grandiose ritual. You know, there's been years past where for a Sabbat, I've literally just lit a candle. Or for a full moon even, I might just light a candle, you know? And there's been other ones where I'll have a big elaborate full moon ritual, you know, where I will sit outside underneath the moonlight with a circle of candles around me and invoking the charge of the goddess. Or maybe, you know, for a Sabbat, instead of an Esbat, for a Sabbat, you know, maybe it'll be a big grandiose ritual where we call the quarters, and that's what I did for Samhain, you know. I had a very personal ritual where I invoked my ancestors, which if you've seen my past videos, you know that this Samhain for me has been bittersweet. So, but we don't have to get into that again in this video. I know I've mentioned that like 500 times, so. But I do magic honestly every day. I think that magic is all around us, and I think as witches, we do magic sometimes with literally without even thinking it, you know, because words are power, thoughts have power. These are intentions that will manifest. So be mindful. Like I talked about in my money and sex appeal video, I do folk magic like every day before I go to work. I anoint myself with oils. I wear certain crystals to match my intention. There's a certain way that I react to certain situations at work, you know, on purpose, to invoke a certain kind of reaction. Because I work in a barbershop, and I work in a field that primarily has male customers, and, you know, sex magic and aphrodisiacs and prosperity magic and money oils and stones with correspondences to that play a big part in my everyday life at work, because these are tools that I have in my magical toolbox that I use to better my money luck and my career as a female barber. You know, kind of playing with the cards that you have. Now, on days that I'm not at work, I do magic as well. You know, I create space like where I'll sit and be mindful, where I'll meditate. I use my singing bowl a lot on days that I'm off. I'll sit here in my witchy room after a nice, relaxing, long bath. And there's another thing that you can do too, baths. Pop some stones in there. Light a candle, you know? If you're feeling kind of under, what I do is if I'm feeling very heavy, very low vibrational, I might light a yellow candle and just put it in the bathroom. I might pray and push my intention into some quartz and chop it up or, you know, toss it into my bath. You know, little things like that I do all the time. As far as big grandiose rituals and big elaborate spells, you know, that really is more of a special occasion for me. I would say on average, I'm probably doing that maybe once a month, maybe once every 2 months, you know? For me, I'm definitely more of a folk kind of practitioner. It's the little things for me that make such a big difference. And it's the little things to me that make me feel so connected. Not that ritual doesn't, but it's just for my lifestyle, it's just not practical or plausible for me to be doing a ritual every day. And for those of you who do, I think that is amazing. And give me some tips and pointers on how you fit that in. You know, I think that would be awesome. I feel like with my schedule, it's hard to make time for that. But I know that, like, you know, if you really want to do something, you will. So, and also, like, energetically wise, I like to put my all into a ritual. All of my passion, all of my intention, all of my emotion. I, you know, like to be very fully charged when I step into a ritual space. And I feel like me, in my perspective, I would feel very drained doing that, raising my vibration to that high of a frequency and channeling my energies at that high of a frequency consistently every day. I would feel very drained. So this has kind of been, we're already at like almost like 14, 15 minutes now. So I just need to shut the hell up because I've been ranting and raving and this and that. So, but this pagan YouTube challenge is really fun. I'm really enjoying it. I know I'm super crazy behind. I'm just kind of going at my own pace here. I was kind of on board kind of late in the first place anyway. Like I always am, late. So I hope all of you are having a beautiful day. Here, the leaves on the trees are just delicious. I'm looking out my witchy room window and I see all these beautiful shades of burnt orange and red and brown and gold. And so I'm probably getting ready to head out there. I want to collect some more leaves before they're all gone, so I can use them in maybe making some more incense and just having some more for my personal storage. So I'm gonna get outside and enjoy a little bit of nature today, and I hope all of you have a beautiful day. Oh God. Oh, I'm a sick witch. Bye guys, many blessings.